All right. Good evening, everyone. It's Pastor Anthony here with your Daily Excellence. Thank you guys so much for being on the channel this evening and being a part of our broadcast. It is coming in a couple minutes late. Got about a 3-minute late start on the countdown this evening, but we are here and looks like we are firing on all of our normal platforms tonight. So special hello to you guys watching us over on Patreon, those of you watching us on Twitter X. And those of you, I think, watching us by Facebook this evening, there's a couple of you guys watching us over there. So glad to have everybody here. Let's see. Well, I just saw a comment here. Oh, yeah. Kimber says, the first warm day we've had here all winter. Yes, that is true. Today it was 41 degrees here in Michigan today, and it felt nice. Finally got some ice and snow to break up on our front deck this afternoon. Was able to break some of that and finally get some of that stuff shoveled off so we don't slip and fall. So looking forward to more warm weather. Looks like even next week it may even get into the 50s for a few days here. So all that snow is going to go away. Maybe an early spring. I got my doubts. I think we'll get one more cold push before that happens, but it is still February after all. So. But anyway, yes, it was good to see some sun today. Of course, I saw some sun a few days ago. My family and I, we were out down in the Bahamas for our vacation. We took a cruise ship out of Norfolk, Virginia, which when we got into Norfolk, it was a bit of a blizzard when we got there. So it was kind of cold the first few days. But then we got down there and got some nice vitamin D from the sun, some warmth, some swimming, and able to make it back a little bit, so that's why I may look a little darker on this broadcast, but I'll probably look white again by the time we get into next week, as we're back in Michigan and there's not a whole lot of light this time of year here. So anyway, good to see everyone. You'll notice tonight's broadcast, we have this as our title, lots of military movements. That's kind of what we're going to be focused on tonight. It's just what's going on with these military movements, kind of get an update of what's going on with Iran. We had the Olympics the other night. We might talk about that for a minute. I'm not going to get too deep into that because the last time we had the Olympics, which was 2 years ago, I got deep into that, and the next thing I know, my channel was shut down for a month over that. So we are probably, and I think Stephen Benanoon even warned me about doing that. So I'm not going to go too deep into that. Not this go around. However, for those of you who follow us on the weekends here on the main channel, Daily Excellence, Mike had a couple of videos that came out last week. We weren't really able to process those through until just Monday, but he had some videos entitled End Times Conditions and End Times something else. Anyway, I think it had a lot to do with what we just saw with the Olympics and how things are changing fast. So those are going to come up this weekend on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We're going to have those up. Of course, if you're our Patreon member, you have access to that right now. But we'll have it up in video form for you guys here on YouTube and over on Rumble this weekend. I just made the videos this evening, and I think I got 2 more to make. I'll try to do 1 more tonight and then make another one tomorrow for everyone and get those uploaded. And we will also this weekend get our live streams back up and going over on DE Studios Friday, Saturday, and Sunday for you guys. So we'll have those cameras and everything running for you with a playlist there. And so also there was a bit of a surprise for you guys over on Patreon. As we were gone last week, we uploaded some audio files that were not COT, but they were from a couple other individuals that we uploaded over there for free. We did not charge or anything over there, but you may want to go and check that out and kind of let me know what you think, if it's something that we can incorporate more of, okay? And so you guys can do that. All right. Let's see. Tonight's topics, we're going to get into just a couple of things. I'm not going to make it very long tonight because I'm still trying to get myself back together from our vacation and trying to get some online schooling done and trying to get caught up on making videos and stuff for the channel. And so I'm not going to be on very evening tonight. But what I do want to talk about is a couple of things that did kind of catch my eye. One, Israel warns Trump that they may act alone if Iran crosses ballistic missile red line. Of course, we've heard this before. Also, over 100 USA FC-17 aircraft are heading to the Middle East, numbers that have not been seen since Desert Storm. That's going to be our main headliner tonight, which is why we entitled tonight's thought, lots of military movement. So we're going to get into that this evening. Let's see. Of course, UFOs are starting to make the news once again. I got a feeling that L.A. Marzulli will probably be busy again. So they're talking about, they're finding there's leaked documents coming out everywhere of U.S. Air Force drone footage, which shows UFOs in airspace over the Middle East. So they always like to throw that in there when something big is going on with that. So, and then we will get into one more piece tonight, talking about how over 1 million in Missouri are being told to prepare for a catastrophic earthquake. You heard me right. That over 1 million people in Missouri are being told to prepare for a catastrophic earthquake. We'll get into that article this evening and see what that is all about. So we have a lot to cover, and we will get into that here in just a moment. Before we have a word from our sponsor, or maybe while we have a word from our sponsor, if you could do me a huge favor, give us a like, share, thumbs up, send this out everywhere you can. Those of you moderators, put those links everywhere. Those of you that are on the COT stuff, if you've got access over to what do you call that, Telegram, throw our link over there wherever you need to. Let people know we're back. It's always kind of a low crowd night whenever I come back, or I've been gone for a week or two. It just takes a little time to get everyone to come back, and so maybe we can turn the tide a little bit this evening. All right, so I'll see you guys here in about 60 seconds.
With over 37 models that can be used around the world, our family of EMP protection devices installs easily in minutes. Being employed this year by federal organizations and electrical companies, the EMP Shield has been tested at Keystone Compliance, a federally approved DoD testing facility. Also serving as one of the world's fastest whole home surge protection devices, working in less than 1 nanosecond, the EMP Shield will protect against electromagnetic pulses, coronal mass ejections, lightning, and all forms of power surges. Proven to withstand more than 40 EMP strikes with zero degradation, the EMP Shield is also one of the world's strongest surge protectors, capable of withstanding over 100,000 amps.
All right, guys, that's our sponsor, EMP Shield. If you haven't done so, go to empshield.com. Get $50 off your order today. Use promo code DAILY. And of course, when you do that, you will support us here on our channel, save money on a good product made here in the United States, and protect all of your devices, whether it's your home, your boat, your generator, anything that's electronic that has some sort of a circuitry board onto it. This device will do that. It protects it from electromagnetic pulses, protects it from EMPs, which either comes from weaponry or the sun, or lightning. Sometimes we get those really bad electrical storms in the summertime, especially as we've got the introduction of plasma lightning. That can cause a few issues there. And so this device will do the job. So I hope you guys enjoy that. John Van Bell, good to have you on tonight. Thank you for sharing those links with us this evening. Texas Girl 907, good to have you on. Denny Salino, good to see you tonight. Appreciate your sharing those links over on Twitter X for us. Of course, Kimberly, good to have you with us tonight. One of the admins from COT joining us. We've got Belinda Repose hanging out with us. Rattling Bones from Idaho. And the real McCoy, good to have you with us tonight. Thank you so much. We got 27 of you watching us right now. About 7 of you watching us over on Rumble. And so I can see your comments on Rumble if you want to shoot on the live chat there. And then I don't know who's watching us over on Twitter X real quick. Let me jump over there. It looks like we've got, we got a couple of you guys. Maybe we have a couple of you guys. I'm not seeing the feed this evening. Just a second here. Yeah, we got a couple of you. One person watching over on X. So good to have you with us this evening. There. Okay. Let's get into some articles tonight and find out what is going on. Doe Mighty, good to see you tonight. And let's see what's going on here. We'll start with Israel tonight because Benjamin Netanyahu just got into town in Washington, D.C. He just got here about an hour ago, landed. And so he's on his way to go hang out with Donald Trump this evening. So, and I got a feeling that this is going to be the conversation they're going to have tonight. Just a feeling. Okay. So Israel warns Trump we may act alone if Iran crosses a ballistic missile red line, and we may even go into Iran while Benjamin Netanyahu is here in the U.S. We never know. It says Israel defense officials were recently told their U.S. counterparts that Iran's ballistic missile program represents an existential threat and that Jerusalem is prepared to act unilaterally if necessary. According to security sources, Israeli intends to dismantle Iran's missile capabilities and production infrastructure were conveyed in recent weeks through a series of high-level exchanges. Military officials outlined operational concepts to degrade the program, including strikes on key manufacturing sites. We told the Americans we will strike alone if Iran crosses the red line we set on ballistic missiles. The source said, adding that Israel is not yet at that threshold, but is continuously tracking developments inside Iran. The officials stressed that Israel reserves freedom of action and emphasized that it will not allow Iran to restore strategic weapons systems on a scale that threatens Israel's existence. One defense official described the current moment as a historic opportunity to deliver a significant blow to Iran's missile infrastructure and neutralize active threats to Israel and neighboring states. Now, just to kind of give you guys a little bit of a backup on this, okay? And that is that, one, you've got to remember that we already went in to Israel. The United States did through Trump's administration. Man, we did dismantle and destroy some nuclear facilities. However, it has been theorized that not all those facilities were taken out because a lot of them were underground. And so we've done that. Israel's afraid that they're going to come back online with those. And so they're wanting to go back and continue the bombardment in that area in hopes that Israel will never be able to have a nuclear weapon. Now, I've mentioned this several times over the last couple of years, and I'm going to do it again. It's been a little bit. But in my personal opinion, I think Iran already has nuclear weapons. I think they already have nuclear capabilities. If they haven't already created it themselves, somebody gave them a birthday present, a Christmas present, and an Easter basket that contained nuclear weapons, in my personal opinion. Do I know that for a fact? Absolutely not. I'm just theorizing, but I just have this feeling that they already have, because look at how many times in history we have seen this red line that keeps popping up, okay? If Iran's 90 days away from having a nuclear weapon. Iran is 10 days away, and Iran is 30 days away. Iran is 2 years away. Iran is 5 years away. We've seen these timelines and we've seen these red lines pop up for years and decades, okay? And they seem to always come and go and pass and restart. Who's controlling the narrative? Where's this coming from? Why does these numbers keep getting thrown out there? If they were really truly 90 days away from having one, and that 90 days eclipse and everything gets silent and all of a sudden it's 30 days or it's a year or whatever it is, it just goes to show that they probably already have one, just the general public doesn't know about it. And so we keep throwing these timelines out there to kind of keep the war machine going and kind of keep people in a state of panic, because fear is a great motivator. And if we can just keep people fearful about Iran and keep people stressed that they may get a nuclear weapon, it kind of just keeps the public going about this. But in all honesty, they already have one. Okay, I think they do. And we've seen in the past satellite imagery of these things get moved across the ocean, heading that direction. And so, I think they already have it. And that's why I think, Iran's not really, all that afraid to do the rhetoric that they're doing, to do what they're doing to their citizens. They got a plan in place. And, we've even seen at times where Israel gets ready to bolster itself against it, then they back down. Why does Israel back down? Why did Trump back down just, a month ago when we were getting ready to go in, and then all of a sudden the narrative changes and Trump's like, oh, you know what? There's no evidence. Or maybe they've stopped doing what they were doing to their citizens. We're not going to go in and strike Iran. Then now all of a sudden, since we've said that we're not going to strike Iran, the military has been building up ever since then. So what happened? That's the door get open and somebody saw something and said, oh, you know what? They actually have a little bit more than we thought. Oh, you know what? They actually have those weapons, but we can't let the general public know. Just a personal thought, okay? Just theorizing, hypothesizing. I don't know. It's under the umbrella of speculation at this point. But that's what I personally think. All right. So, Benjamin Netanyahu's in town. He's in Washington right now. Landed about an hour ago. You can see all the footage over on X. The videos of him coming in, of the caravan, going from the airport straight to the White House to meet with Trump. Like I said, I think they're going to be talking about this tonight. And of course, Iran does play a huge part in where we're going with these end times scenario. Not so much because Iran will propel us into the end times, but it's because who they're aligned with. And it's because of what modern day Iran represents, which is the old Persia and their allies. And of course, we know that from end times prophecy about Gog and Magog. And so this is why everybody's really paying attention to Iran, because if pushed in the right direction, this thing could launch us into some biblical type of wars that are being foretold for the end times. And so that's why we keep an eye on what's going on with Iran. Not that we want to see war, not that we want to see these things unfold, but we know what Scripture tells us in Ezekiel 38-39 prophecies, which we've done several of those here on the channel, talked about them involving Iran. And I imagine we'll probably revisit that again in the near future, as I'm pretty sure we're going to see yet another strike on Iran. And then, of course, they'll turn around and do their strikes on Israel. And then, we'll be right back to the same cycle again until somebody really decides, hey, we're going to pull the trigger on this. And that's kind of what I've talked about, this trigger thing for quite some time too. Every country's at arms against each other. But who's really going to pull the trigger on this? Like, it's kind of like being in a game of chicken on the highway. It's you and another car, but you don't want to be that car that veers off because then you look like the weaker one. But at the same time, you don't want to crash into the other individual. It's kind of what all the countries around the world are doing right now. It's a big game of chicken. Nobody's backing down. Nobody really wants to do this, but we're heading that direction. It's just who's going to pull the trigger first. And nobody wants to be on the wrong side of history. All right, let's take another article look here. This is kind of our headliner this evening, which for those of you that are just coming on, looks like we got about 20 of you that just popped on. So we're talking about tonight, lots of military movements taking place. And we just talked about what's going on. Benjamin Netanyahu's in town. He's heading over to Washington, meeting up with Trump at the White House. Landed a little over an hour ago, being escorted in that direction. And, Israel's talking about going after Iran. Should they continue to cross that red line and develop ballistic missiles or try to rebuild what we destroyed? Meanwhile, here in the United States, and this is an article that came out yesterday, over 100 USAF C-17 aircraft heading to the Middle East. Numbers not seen since Desert Storm. All right, so Desert Storm was what, 1990, 1991? And an eye-opening and massive number of C-17 global master military transport and cargo planes have been observed heading to Europe and the Middle East in what some monitors have forewarned looks like a buildup to a major war in Iran. Like I said, could be the reason why BB's in town. One regional watcher and pundit commented in response, 112 C-17s are in or on their way to the Middle East. Guys, that's a lot. Like Desert Storm, a lot. Stay tuned. This is, this as on Friday, the prominent open source account Armchair Admiral and others used public flight trackers data to tally that the huge armada of U.S. Air Force C-17s and counting are en route, a trend since the middle of January. So we've been building this stuff up since middle of January. Remember, like I just mentioned a few moments ago, this about a month ago is when we decided that we were not going to go after Iran because we had satellite imagery that showed us that Iran had quit doing what they were doing to their citizens, those that were protesting. And so Trump said, we're not going to strike. But ever since then, we've been building up military. I think we saw what they had and realized that we probably needed to come in with something different. So we toned down our rhetoric. What do they see? You know, that's the question. What do they see? Like I already mentioned, I think they already have nuclear capability. I think they already have ballistic missiles with warheads attached to them. That's just my personal opinion. A total of 112 U.S. Air Force C-17s are now either arriving or en route to the Middle East with a further 17 and 18 in progress flights. A number of Royal Air Guard logistic flights from the RAF Marham to the RAF, I'm not even going to try to pronounce that, in Cyprus, and movement of U.S. Air Force Cornets. The source says the C-17s are massive and can deliver huge amounts of equipment and large numbers of troops in a single go. The U.S. military lists some of the following capabilities: a payload capacity of over 170,000 pounds, the ability to operate on short runways as small as 3,050 feet, intercontinental range, in-flight refueling, extended reach even further, rapid load and unload designed to keep missions moving under pressure. Iran and the U.S. just concluded an initial round of indirect talks mediated by Oman, but despite some hopeful statements issued by either side, it is very clear Iran is not willing to negotiate its ballistic missile program. A sticking point being demanded by Washington. A second round is expected in a couple of days unless military action ensues first. Okay, so that's kind of what's going on right now. Is we've seen these talks. Talks aren't quite going the way they want them to. They're basically wanting Iran to dismantle their ballistic missiles. At first I thought we were kind of going in there to help liberate Iran and to help the people out, but it turns out it's more about the weapons and more about their nuclear ambitions. Like I said, I think they already got them. That's why they're not really afraid to come in and say, hey, yeah, we'll quit doing what we're doing. They don't need to quit doing what they're doing because they already got what they want, in my personal opinion. So if you already have made what you need to make, what are you going to do? So I think, sometimes when you have the biggest weapon in the room, you tend to be a little less afraid, and you tend to show off a little bit more. You tend to have a little more confidence when you got something that nobody else knows that you have. And I think that's what we got going on with Iran, in my personal opinion. Okay, I could be very wrong. And so that's what I think is going on there. Like I said, we're going to keep an eye on this as this develops. But this tends to be moving a little bit slower than we did what we've seen the last couple of times when there's been rhetoric. We've seen missiles fly between Israel and Iran. That's happened a couple times now. We saw Trump at the beginning of his presidency last year go after Iran, and things are kind of quiet now. They're ratcheting up again, and Trump doesn't seem to be as eager to go in as quickly as he did last time. And so now we've got this massive buildup of military. And of course, there's a picture right there of what these planes look like. And they're really just massive cargo planes. And of course, it tells you that they can carry up to 170,000 pounds of equipment. And so, you've got all kinds of weaponry. You got all kinds of manufactured buildings. You've got all kinds of moving vehicles, all kinds of things like that, to build up pop-up bases wherever they need to for a potential ground invasion. Is it possible we're going for a regime change? If you're there and you're going to do something this massive, you might as well. Which, of course, last evening, I believe, the Iranians were shooting off fireworks in celebration to the revolution that happened in the 1970s as that anniversary had passed. So that's kind of what's going on there in Iran. A lot of military movement taking place there. That's not the only place, though, that we've got military movement happening. We've got some other movements going on. I think we just sent, taking a look here. Of course, we had a report last week of U.S. aircraft shooting down approaching Iranian drones. So that did happen apparently last week. But we've also got some military trying to think here. I don't see it on here anymore. But anyway, we've got some military on the way to Africa to help liberate some of the Christians over there that have been under a kind of a genocide attack in that region. And there was a video, an article here, but it looks like they took that down. So I don't have that available for you guys right now. Don and Jasmine, good to see you on tonight. We got Catherine that's joined us. Thank you for being here. We've got Renee Image. Says the whole world is confused about these negotiations, especially when Iranian government has already slaughtered over 100,000 of their own citizens. I thought we don't negotiate with terrorists. Yeah, and I think it's all part of the art of the deal, in my personal opinion. I don't think either side really has any intentions of actually negotiating, and I don't think Trump really has any intentions of negotiating. Maybe just something to kind of appease the international community. But when you've got this much weaponry and you're spending this much money to send aircraft carriers and C-17 planes and all this equipment over there that we haven't seen since Desert Storm, if you're spending that much money to do that, it would be quite a waste to bring all that over there and do nothing. So I think it's more of just a horse and pony show more than anything. I don't think that these negotiations are really going to mean anything. It's just more of a saving face type of scenario going on with that. And that's just my personal opinion. I'm not an expert in the art of the deal or the art of war or anything like that. We've just seen this before. And we know how Trump operates. He operates at a different level. He's very strategic in the way he moves things, and the general public's not going to know what he does. You're just not. It's the way he does things. It happens when you're least paying attention is when they go after people. So that's just my personal opinion. Okay, from my observation on this. So let's see. So we got that going on. Of course, at the same time, those of you that watched the Super Bowl on Sunday night, I personally did not. We were traveling. Of course, Seattle Seahawks, they won. So those of you that are from Washington or Seahawks fans, congratulations to you. The red halftime show, however, was pretty interesting. Looks like they were summoning the Antichrist with their rhetoric and, of course, the demonic symbol that was hanging there in the archway, or a replica anyway of that archway, which I think they built a replica of that in New York, but it was as of like a worship to Baal type of thing, and I think that's what was going on there at the matter of fact, I'm gonna pull that up just so you guys get an idea of what I'm talking about. Give me just a second here. I'm gonna pull that up. I try not to go there tonight, and I'm gonna try not to go too deep into that. Let me just a second, people. Give me just a second. Nope. I want to pull this up. Just so you guys can see what I'm talking about here. Alrighty, I think I found it. I did. And I'm not like advocating this news article or anything. Here we go. All right, so this is the image. This was the opening of the Winter Olympics. Okay. Of course, you have the demonic symbol there in the middle. They're not hiding it. This was a way of kind of like summoning, the spirits at bay, I guess. But really, it's just kind of like the invitation to the Antichrist rule, beast system, that kind of thing. And of course, you have it there in the archway, which, New York and the city of New York, and Jonathan Cahn's talked about this in his book called The Harbinger, but they kind of did this with a replica of this archway that they built, which was in dedication to the god of Baal. And so it seems like, and I could be wrong on this, but it seems like that's kind of what they did here. As they built another replica to Baal, they put this demonic symbol in the center of it. Of course, people are dancing, they're doing their thing, but really they're summoning. Spiritually, there was a lot going on, and they were kind of just summoning the things at bay there. And I think it was like Pastor Briggs over there on his channel had talked about this months in advance that they were going to do this. And this was really a call to the invitation of the man of perdition. So that's what they're saying. Of course, the news agencies are bringing this out as, they're bringing this out as, and by the way, did I say this was a Super Bowl? This was not the Super Bowl. This was the opening to the Olympics, Winter Game Olympics. I got to make a correction. I think I said halftime show for the Super Bowl. I'm wrong. I was wrong on that. It was not that. This was the Olympics, the opening to the Winter Olympics in Europe. And I believe this was in France. So, I had that wrong. That was not the Super Bowl, okay? This is the Winter Olympics. So my mistake there. But anyway, it looks like they closed me out of that. So that's what was going on there. For those of you that were watching that, I don't know what the halftime show was for the Super Bowl. I didn't see it, but that was the Olympics. So just make sure I clarify that for you guys there. Yes, Milan, Italy. That's right. Not France. So it shows you how much I pay attention to the Olympics as well. But that did happen. So things are moving in that direction. And the more we give into this, the more we open that door for the Antichrist. Not just the spirit, because the spirit's been around since the days of Jesus, but to the actual rise of this entity that's going to come in as the man of perdition. And, we're starting to see things really come together, especially with what's going on with Iran and with Israel. And it's important to note, too, when we look at prophecy, of course, we see things moving at a breakneck speed. We see things going quickly, but there's also this consensus where people think, well, these things that take place in the Bible, it must be a specific event that happens in one day. That's not necessarily true. We can be looking at the build up to the war of Gog and Magog. We've been seeing that, the build up to that war. We know who's going to be, all the players are going to be in that. We know all the players are going to be involved in that war. We know how it's going to come together. We know the possibilities and the weapons and all this stuff. But to come to that point where that war actually breaks out, this is something that could take more than just days and months, but it can take years for that event to actually unfold. Okay, so you have to kind of keep that in mind, that these events that the Bible talks about is not talking about necessarily, hey, this is going to, one day you're going to wake up and boom, Ezekiel 38:39 is going to happen, or boom, Psalms 86 that's going to happen in one day. No, these are events that will unfold over time. Okay, these are seasons that take place. And so just like the Antichrist, I personally think the Antichrist is here among us in physical form, just that our eyes haven't been open to see who it is yet, because it's not the time of the revealing. But in order to take on a human form, that Antichrist has had to be here for a while. It takes time for these seasons to come into full manifestation. And so some people will say, well, you've been talking about this for a long time and it hasn't happened. No, it's happening. It's just not happening, in a split moment or a single event. It's happening over a course of time. Okay, we don't really see any real time framed type of scenarios come together until you get into the book of Revelation, and then it says 7 years. Okay, then that's when you actually see something that gives a specific, okay, this is going to last for 7 years. This is going to take place for 3.5 years. This is going to take place in the second 3.5 years, which the book of Daniel and his prophecy matches what you see in Revelation. Those are specific times. Everything else that you see happens over the course of a season, especially like when you talk about the rebirth of Israel. That took place in 1948, when Israel, after a long period of Israel being scattered among the nations, which lasted over 2,000 plus years, then the people come back. That was a period where God said in the Old Testament through prophecy that he was going to disperse the land of Israel, but in the latter days they would come back. Well, that season lasted of many, many years, lasted a very, very long time. And then they came back, okay, in 1948, officially in 1948. But the buildup of that had taken place since the 1800s, of Israel coming back one by one, slowly, and then finally able to do that in 1948. So I use that as an example, that these are all seasons that we're going through. Matthew 24, Luke 21 talks about this, that you will know that the return of Christ is near, because you'll see all of these things. You'll know it like the season, okay? And so we see the earthquakes, we see the pestilences, we see the lawlessness, we see the signs in the heavens and in the earth and under the earth. We see all the wars and all these things that are taking place that Scripture tells us would take place in these days of sorrow. But how long does the days of sorrow last? It says days. Does the days of sorrow last 10 years? Does it last 20 years? Does it last 100 years? We don't know. But we know that we're going to go through these days of sorrows first, then the Lord returns for us. So how many days? I have no idea. But I don't think it's going to be, based upon what we're seeing around the world right now, based upon, technology taking us into one world government, one world monetary system, the rising of the globalist system, the lawlessness and all these things, I don't think it's going to be a very long season. And of course, Scripture backs that up too when it tells us that in the last days that God will even shorten the days for the elect's sake, and lest no flesh be saved. That means that it's going to get so bad that it's going to be hard for man to even be saved. Okay, so God has to shorten the days. So that kind of tells me, just in that passage alone, that these days of sorrow probably not going to go very long, but there's going to be a season. Okay, it's going to be a season that we're going to endure these things, and we've been in this season for a little while. It's been here for quite some time, and it's continuing to escalate. And the events are coming in faster. We're getting to a place where there's not even much breaks in between each catastrophe that's taken place. It's just everything's getting faster. It's like a woman who's in labor just before she gives birth. What happens? Those contractions, they first are like 10 minutes apart, and then they're 8 minutes apart, 7 minutes apart, 5 minutes apart, 2 minutes apart, 1 minute apart, and then they're just seconds apart. And I think we're reaching that part where those labor pains of the end times are minutes and seconds apart between each event that keeps taking place. And so I guess I would say just hold on, because the baby is about to be born. Okay. But just remember, everything is in timings and in seasons. Quit looking for a specific date. Quit looking for a specific day. Okay. It's just how that's going to go for that. And so Gog may be a bit of a season that we go through for that war when it gets started. It could be done in 3 days. It could be done in a day, especially if they use unconventional weapons. And we see, some of the stuff that I think it was what Jeremiah was talking about, where their eyes are melting out of their sockets and their skin falls off their bones. Well, we know that as nuclear weapons these days. Okay, but that's what they're describing will take place in these wars. So obviously, we know that nuclear weapons will be used at some point. And of course, when that happens, it's a good way to end a war very quickly. So, we just got to be watchful as these things unfold. Now, speaking of disasters, I do want to take everyone to this article real quick. We're going to deviate away from war talk and weapons and go over to this article that has come out. And here's what this says. It says over 1 million in Missouri are being told to prepare for a catastrophic earthquake. This article came out on February 6th. It says, for once, I'm not the only one saying it. Authorities in Missouri are officially warning residents that they need to do whatever it takes to prepare for a catastrophic earthquake that will someday change life as we know it. And so I saw this from the Missouri State Emergency Management Agency, reminding everyone that it is vital that you prepare for an inevitable major Madrid fault line event. In case you can't read the small print, they said at 10:15 a.m. on October 15th, 2026, you can join more than 1 million people across Missouri and central U.S. that will be practicing a earthquake safety. Okay. While we encourage you to participate with everyone, you can register your shakeout drill for any day of the year and drill at a time of your choice. This warning to Missourians is part of a Great American Central U.S. Shakeout event that is planned for later this year on October 15th of 2026. The question I have is, why do they recommend that you drop, cover, and hold on? The answer is because by putting your head between your neck and finding cover under a solid object, you're reducing the chances that you will be hit by flying objects. Many people envision objects falling straight down, but don't realize that a major earthquake can cause objects on walls to fly across a room and hit you. All right, so the Missouri State Emergency Management Agency is telling its residents that they need to participate, or being advised to participate in this drill, this earthquake drill that they're going to have on October 15th in 2026. And it's a drill to have everybody have all their stuff that they need. If they need to bug out, to find a place in their homes, in their basements, wherever they need to be, to take cover, to follow all the safety guidelines that they have for that part of the country, and what they believe inevitably will be a catastrophic earthquake that will hit this part of the world and change the course of daily life. Now, I've heard this before, not from any news agencies, not from any government agencies, but I've heard this over on the YouTube channel. In time or last days 24/7 with Pastor Briggs has actually talked about for about maybe 6 months to a year now that a great shaking was coming to America, and that in one moment life would be changed in an instant. The life was going to be very different, and I find it very interesting that same line that he said. Of course, he gets a lot of words of prophecy from the Lord. I believe he's a very intuitive gentleman. I believe he hears from God and has a very close relationship with him. I've seen a lot of things. I've paid attention to him for quite some time now, and I have verified a lot of the things that he has said has come to pass. Not that he says it, but the Lord gives it to him. And the very sentence here, where was it? I find it very interesting that this very sentence, prepare for a catastrophic or that will someday change life as we know it, was the exact same thing that was being said about the great shaking that was coming. And so Missouri, why? Well, that's because that's where the Madrid fault line runs. It runs through Missouri, through the Ozarks. And of course it goes through Tennessee, and I think it goes up to Illinois, St. Louis area. But the New Madrid fault line is kind of like the Midwest San Andreas. Of course, it's been dormant for quite some time. The last time it went off, I think it was in the late 1800s. I could be wrong on that. It was in the 1800s though, but it actually was strong enough that it rang the bells in Boston and reversed the course of the Mississippi, where instead of it flowing from north to south, it flowed from south to north. It was a very strong earthquake, and we haven't really seen one since then. And so I guess there's evidence to suggest that this is going to happen again in the near future. So this is why they're having the shakeout drill scheduled for the middle of October of this year to train residents on what to do when this earthquake takes place. So I thought this was pretty interesting, something to keep an eye on. And of course, those of you, we have quite a few of you guys over here that are already subscribed over there to Last Days 24/7 with Pastor Briggs. He's been featured over there on Paul Begley's channel before for one of his webinars. But he's talked about this great shaking that's coming to America, and I believe, in my personal opinion, this is that shaking. It's the Madrid fault line. I just feel like it is. And that's kind of what's being prophesied. So I would pay attention to this. We'll keep an eye on it on our end for sure. But that's kind of the feeling I'm getting here. So let's see. Tex, oh my girl, good to have you on tonight. Thank you for being here. Renee Image says we have to ask Pastor Paul. He usually knows about these earthquakes. Yes. Mike from Council of Time talks a lot about these quakes too. He usually will get on board with some of this, and I think he's talked about a shaking that's coming as well. Perry Stone is another one that's been talking about a great shaking that was coming as well. So we have a few out there that have talked about this, but not in quite the detail that Pastor Briggs has. His details about things, there's no way anyone could know that unless you're getting a download from the Lord. Anyone can say there's a major earthquake coming, but Pastor Briggs actually knows the details of it are quite incredible. And then to see those things come to pass, you can't really refute it. So, and not that I'm elevating a person, because I'm not, but when you have somebody who's humble, and you have somebody who has that kind of a deep connection, relationship with God, they're able to be used as a vessel to warn the masses and get people to pray. And that's exactly what he does over there. So, all right. Well, that's about all I have for you guys this evening. We've been here for almost an hour. And so this is kind of what we do on Tuesday nights. We get, we kind of come together on Tuesday nights, go over some of the news articles that are happening, kind of try to connect them with Bible prophecy, have a conversation tonight, and then just be in prayer for all these things that are taking place. Tomorrow night we'll be on with you guys for Pastor Talk with myself and my wife. That's the time that we come together. We don't talk too much about natural disasters. We don't talk about prophecy, but we take that time to minister to you guys on the channel with devotion and prayer. So if you have any prayer requests, you can put those in tomorrow evening in the live chat, and we will pray with you guys live and on the channel. So it's just kind of a family night, a time of ministry, ministering to your spirit, and of course ministering through prayer live here on the channel. So that's what we do for everyone on Wednesday nights. And then of course this weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, we'll have the new episodes up, a new broadcast up from COT. We're working on those now. I've got 2 of them already done. I'm going to work on the 3rd one here in just a moment when I get off of here. And so we'll upload those up tomorrow night for premieres for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And then, of course, over on DE Studios, we just rerun old stuff from COT. That's all DE Studios is another place you can go to where you can catch reruns of old material from COT. Chat rooms are open over there. We'll have live streams up for you guys this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday over there. Moderators will be hanging out. John Van Belt does a great job keeping us going. Kathleen Veglio, when she's not having to work, she keeps things up and going for us. We got several moderators that are coming in that do a lot for us. Arliss Young is another one that does quite a bit for us. Of course, we got Danny Salino helps us out over on X that does their thing there. And so definitely appreciate all of our moderators, everyone that's doing that. And of course, the best way you guys can help us grow, help us to cast a wider net, help us reach more people is by word of mouth, is by sharing our content out to everywhere you can, subscribing to our channels, subscribe to every platform that we're available on, which is in the links below, everywhere that we're available on social media, which I haven't done too many reels lately. It's probably been about 3 or 4 weeks since I've done a reel. But while I was on vacation, I did record 3 reels on vacation. And so as soon as my wife gets a chance to kind of review those are going to get posted over on Instagram and Facebook. So those are coming. So that'll be happening over there. Of course, we're beginning to do things over on Patreon. Going to spend a little bit more time over there, just because on Patreon we've seen a lot of growth over there, and we're getting a lot more views, oddly enough, over on Patreon than we are on YouTube, which I think is very interesting. Because for whatever reason, it seems like we're being shadow banned again. I don't know why, but our views have dropped substantially. Not that I ever really pay attention to views all that much, but it was enough to catch my eye for sure. So I don't know if it's just because it's the beginning of the year and it's winter time and people just don't feel like going on, or maybe they are there, but the numbers aren't being viewed. But we'll see what happens. So I would suggest that you guys get Patreon. You don't have to pay to go over there. It's free. Get yourself an account, and every video we've done is there for you for download in audio form. And we've been adding some other things over there that you're not going to find here on our channel. You're not going to find it on YouTube or Rumble or anything like that. You got to go over the Patreon to find that stuff. Some information from other places that I cannot mention here. All right, because I don't have permission to mention it here on YouTube. So, all right. That being said, everyone, thank you guys so much for being part of our channel, our broadcast. Remember, we're listener supported. We don't have government funding for our channel. We don't do tithes. We don't do offerings. We are strictly listener based. That means we just do this off of your donations. So if you have any donations that you feel led to give, you can do so through one of three ways. Become a member here on YouTube, which a lot of you guys have done that. We've got several, I think almost 200 of you that are doing that. So thank you guys so much for doing that. You can also choose to do it through Patreon. You control whatever you have over there, whatever amount you want to give. High or low, that's between you and the Lord. You can do that over there. We also have PayPal, things like that. Many opportunities to do so. But please, whatever you do, if you decide, hey, I would like to submit my tithes to over here, I would ask that you reconsider that. Save your tithes and your offerings for your local ministry, your local church, or your community, because places like that, they need to be able to reach your area, your community, your state. So keep that over there. If you're able to do it, you can donate to us, but that's the reason why we don't do tithes and offerings here, is just because we prefer that you keep that in your church and in your community, so that greater works can be done in your area, because we can't reach you over there. We can do it by video, but I'm not there to do any work with what you turn in, so that needs to be done in your area. So that's why we don't do that. All right. That being said, everyone, God bless you. Thank you for being part of our broadcast. We will see you guys tomorrow at 6 o'clock. Remember, at 6 o'clock Eastern Time, 5 Central. Remember, you may be the only Jesus someone sees this week, so please keep a smile on your face. Good night, everyone, and God bless.